Welcome back to Restaurantopia. Got a great episode today. Joining me today is Brian Seitz. Brian, how you doing?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Anthony Hamilton.
Never a complaint, brother.
Oh,
Would anybody listen?
Oh, no. That's why I just back away from it.
And Dave Ross. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, Brian's got an amazing episode that we're going to play some color commentary on and hopefully maybe shit on some ideas and just give him a hard time because that's just what we do.
I love it. This is a quick episode. It is informative. I want you to take away basically one point. I think you'll get it pretty quickly, but let's talk about this.
Yeah,
Merchant cash advances. Everyone familiar with that?
I'm not actually. Can you fill me in?
Okay.
What does that mean?
So a merchant cash advance is not a loan. They'll make sure that they say it's not a loan. They are actually buying your receivables. So they're buying your future credit card receipts.
Well, can we back up a second?
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to dumb it down more.
Yeah.
Just real quick. Like, who's they?
So anyone could do this.
Okay.
So like historically, it was done with like invoice advances. So you sold 300 widgets to somebody in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
They owe you $10,000. The person who would buy that receivables would pay you maybe say $8,000 for the $10,000. And then they would have to collect or get the money from that person who bought the widgets.
Got it.
So in this case, unlike a loan saying, hey, I'll loan you $8,000 and then you have to pay me back under some terms, the really depends on getting that money in from that source that you basically bought, and I'll use air quotes, that future payment.
Now, does it have to be one particular source of payment, or could it be a combination of payments, say like guest checks?
Yeah, it could be. It could be multiple, but in the typical scenario, especially the two that I'm going to talk about today, are credit card processors, and now I've seen third-party delivery. So DoorDash is now offering these on loans on your future DoorDash. So imagine
Aren't
this.
they the reason why you need the cash advance?
Yeah, right.
Would this also be like the old school, like vending machines, like the pool table companies and stuff like that, or is that different?
Different. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. This
This is more like a payday loan.
It's a lot like that, but less regulated.
Oh, even better.
No, it's
Okay,
great.
so let's roll. Sorry.
The government is looking into it as far as whether to consider it lending or how they're regulating it. I'm not a big one on government intervention, but what I'm seeing, and the reason I bring this up, and I know we've done an episode in the past about this, I'm seeing this multiple times of struggling restaurants getting these advances, and then it put them right out of business.
This reminds me of one of my favorite movies from the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Which one?
I think it was called The Predator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is some point.
Yeah.
That was good. I like that. I like how you did that. That was good. See that?
Just weave that right at the
I know.
It's
This
just
is like, I mean, I didn't know Joe Rogan was our co-host. I mean, wow, this is amazing. I feel like Elon Musk. All right. Whew. That was good. That was good.
I appreciate
No,
it.
it's exactly that. They are aggressive. The interest rates are extremely high. Now, you can't really call it interest rates, but the effective interest rate is what it is. So,
Or a fee.
yeah, the fee, but you're borrowing $8,000 and you're paying back sometimes $14,000 over,
Wow.
but it's not over 2 years or anything like that. It could be over 6 months. It could be over 4 months. It's a very short period of time. And if you go online and you search, business loan or something like that, there's a lot of these services out there that are doing hard money loans or these types of financial transactions that are really just killing operators. I understand the need of capital. I understand the need that, sales aren't what they were forecasted to be, had an unexpected expense. But you as a business owner have to prepare and understand that at some point during your business, you are going to need capital, whether that's I have savings. I've already set up a financial facility to give me a loan. I got a cousin Eddie, who's, really rich and I can borrow from him. Whatever that is, as a business person, you need to be prepared that at some point I may need access to funding. And I don't want to have to do a deal with a hard money lender like these guys.
But so my question is, so I'm a restaurant operator.
Uh-huh.
I understand what you're saying. How are these packaged? Like, are these packaged attractively, or are these more desperate people? Like,
Oh, this is a
how
Hail
do
Mary, I'd say.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, how do they, because when you say loan 8,000, pay back 14, I go, whoa, geez, like that doesn't sound
Yeah,
smart. But
they don't, and I'll put some screenshots of the ads, because if you look at your point of sale system on the online portal or in your emails, you'll see these. They really don't talk too much about the payback part. They talk about how fast you can get the money.
Oh, yeah.
How easy it is, whether or not there's a personal guarantee or not, whether or not,
So there's a little bit of a smoke screen. It's not like, hey, dummy.
No, it's like, hey, I noticed you hit rock bottom. Would you like a hard money loan? Come,
And especially when they're running the POS, they're like, sales down? Hey, we got fast money.
No, think about that.
Yeah.
So they do have insight into your business. It's like, hey, we noticed on your way to the bankruptcy court, you'd like to pick up some money, before
you got a tracker on your car. We've been noticing where you're going.
Yeah, no, it is the kill shot of your business if you take one of these loans. Now, I've seen a lot of people recover and make it out. And
I was going to say, there has to be some semblance of viability or they wouldn't be so popular, right? Because it's a losing proposition.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying that the lender is not getting paid back or the financial institution is not getting paid back. It's just you're out of business.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a creating a hurdle when you already have a million hurdles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and I could do a whole nother episode on how to fight back with these things if you're in that. The only thing I can say is if you are in that situation, there's hardship, options. If you're in breach of covenants and say, hey, I can't pay, they'll work something out. But they got you at that point. So it could be very, very expensive, even more expensive than it was originally if you, breach a covenant and to pay them back slower, or you try to do some games like, I went from Toast to Clover. I did some sort of switcheroo with the processor. These loans are, and again, they're not loans. These advances are very harmful to your business. And I really encourage everyone out there that's listening to don't take this money. Find other financing sources. Don't go down this path because this is a tough road.
You think these are super popular? Because in all my days of consulting and working in restaurants, I've never heard of anybody taking one of these. Or you think it's just no one wants to talk about it because they understand the terms and it's a last ditch or it's a losing proposition. They're just that desperate and they're definitely not going to tell their friends.
Yeah, this is definitely
a deep dark secret.
A deep dark secret in the industry. Mm-hmm. I see it in our side of the business because of maybe an issue with a customer, or I'm trying to provide some legal advice to a friend or someone in the business. So I'm seeing it because they are at wit's end. They borrowed $100,000. They they're still behind on the taxes. They maybe missed payroll. They are at a place where, maybe
Brian sees a lot of births and deaths.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's part of the life.
It's tough because it seems like a pride thing, right? And with the independent restaurants, we've talked so many times about how they're just not confident in themselves, right? And it's one of those things where network comes into play. And if you're that desperate and you can swallow your pride a little bit, if you explore your network, chances are you have a regular customer or a friend of a friend who's a raving fan of your brand that might allow you to do a capital call on reasonable terms or own a part of your business at that point, which I would argue is a much more sustainable path than what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I would say this is an out that people see as the only option when it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And it probably doesn't apply to any of our listeners because they're so focused on prime cost and making good decisions. But you may know,
I think you call it a self-selecting group.
It is self-selecting, but you may know someone who's in the industry that is considering this. But it is very attractive.
Your timing on this episode is paramount because I can tell you, and maybe people will disagree with me, I have not seen a more difficult year to operate restaurants in 2024. Now, the first probably 4 months of 2020 would probably rival that, but then 2020 got real good, right? But 2024 is like the culmination of the rising costs. Margins are thinner than ever. It's still hard to find staff. It's hard to sustain, man.
I would say the consumer is very finicky too. And we're seeing, inflationary pressures. We're seeing a lot of things in the market that are the perfect storm that make it difficult to be a restaurant operator. So to think that you're going to borrow your way out of the deficit, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So do you have to look at your concept? Do you have to look at closing locations? This is actually the scenario that I see oftentimes that you wouldn't believe. It's a 2 to 3 unit operator that is robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
And the first two locations do great. It's the third one
sucking everything. Yeah.
It's just sucking all the money out of it. And it's like, oh, if I just make it to Valentine's Day, if I just make it to patio season, if I just make it to the summer. And I got to be honest, like you really got to figure out a game plan where you're able to either divest a unit, to make the hard decisions, sell the car, get really, really lean, so you can get strong.
What a tough proposition. And you know, for a serial entrepreneur, this is different, right? Because most of those, they're not afraid of bankruptcy. They're not afraid of rock bottom. They don't care. That's kind of their sport, right? They've all been there and they've all climbed out of it. But for the hospitality entrepreneur, that really nice, kind person that likes making people feel good, they weren't in it for the business first. They're in it for the passion first.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not used to this. And they probably look at this as failure and it's the end of their life. And there's so much emotion wrapped up into it. Again, I know entrepreneurs that just don't care. Like, I mean, they care, but like if they get to that point, they're like, so what? I'll start over, you know, and they can call it what they call it and get out when the time's right. They're more strategic about it. But when you put the emotion in, especially the one I called pride earlier, people will hang on till it's way too late. Too late.
I see that very often is you kind of knew what time it was to close the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you lasted another 6 months and all you did was
on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah. And all you did was feed it. And it was just a death by 1,000 cuts. And the moment that you suck any financial viability out of an operation, your staff feels it. Your vendors start to feel it. You start getting deep into your vendors. And then the customer feels it because the service quality goes down, the food quality goes down, as your great malt episode, the ambiance goes down.
Yeah, everything slips.
So I think if you're getting these emails, these notifications on your point of sale system, your third party delivery systems, merchant portals, I really want to caution you: do not take that money. It is very expensive. And it is not the easy fix that you might think it is. It is very, very difficult.
It is indeed fast money, but it's not smart money.
No, it's
good distinction.
And again, on the street they call it a hard money loan, and that is in fact what it is. This is not a line of credit from some nationally recognized financial institution. This is someone out there that in fact does this. They are going to try to get a personal guarantee from you. They're going to lien your assets. So if you do sell the business, they're going to be paid first or very shortly thereafter. They are going to, swipe your bank accounts, and do the sweeps of your account. And if it's your point of sale system, they may take it before it even goes into your account. So there is no gamesmanship that hey, I'm going to get around these guys. These guys are professionals in collecting this money. I get that it was fast. There was very little underwriting, but they know who you are and how to get that money back.
Yeah.
That's what a tough situation.
Yeah. So Brian, just to clarify, there is no place where this type of you call a hard money loan is appropriate.
I have yet to see a scenario where a merchant cash advance was appropriate.
Okay, fair. I mean, that's what I was thinking in my head, but I just wanted to make sure we got it out there. This isn't something you want to avoid at all costs.
Yeah, because I can't imagine they're very friendly with I'm thinking of a scenario where it's just like short term, right? Where you just need to get through 1 week and you knew the money was coming back in. You could do like an early payoff and then avoid the fees or whatever. They put in escalators as far as that's concerned or no?
No, the escalator's already baked in. So like
they're getting a certain amount of money back regardless.
Correct, unless you default. So at the example I give in the show notes, which I encourage you to go take a look at restauranttopia.com, is the guy takes $50,000 for a merchant cash advance from the point of sale system. He needs to repay $65,000 plus fees. So if he, whether it's 10% of daily sales, 20% of daily sales, whatever it is, 6 months into that, he's paid that money back. So he's paid back $15,000 on $50,000
plus fees.
Yeah. So
about 35%.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah, that is rough. But again, it's you look at the pride thing, right? And you look at the perception of pride and how important it is to people that they're perceived as successful. And it's hard to look another individual in the eye and say, listen, you're my confidant. I'm struggling. I need some help. Or you can go to a nameless, faceless company that's non-judgmental and, in fact, is encouraging you to take this money. I can see the temptation be very, very real.
For sure.
Yeah,
no, there's a reason they're doing it. It's not, I mean.
Yeah, and the path to obtaining this money is so much different than going to a traditional lender. So I got a pro tip for us here. All right.
We got to get a sound effect.
Actually, we do need to get a sound effect. So these are pro tips, I should say. These are pro tips, I should say. What to consider before taking a merchant cash advance. First, evaluate your cash flow. What are you really doing? What are your prime costs? How much are you actually dropping to the bottom line? Explore your alternatives. Is it traditional loans, lines of credit, friends and family, SBA loans, whatever it is? Explore other alternatives. And then seek legal advice because you're going to need it. And if you take too many of these, or it's too large, or it can be one. It's like a gateway drug. It can kill your business. So I really encourage you to seek out a lawyer, a friend, a confidant, a financial advisor on what this looks like. What is the impact on your business? Because you can spreadsheet this and really show what it's going to look like. You get the $8,000 now, but that's going to evaporate. What does the next 6 months look like in paying this back?
Short-term relief almost always causes long-term pain.
Yeah. And there's no, hey, I'm in this situation. If I pay it back tomorrow, I only owe $52,000.
So that was my question, because I could see that as being a viable tool, right? If you had a difference between receivables and payables, right? And you're like, I just need a 1 week gap or a 2 week gap covered, but that's not the case.
No. You take $50,000 and you want to pay it back. And again, these numbers are all over the map. So
they're arbitrary.
Yeah. So if you paid everything back, say you sold your restaurant or something 2 weeks later, you're paying back $65,000 plus
regardless.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Pro tip, takeaway, just my plea to you: do not take any funding from a merchant cash advance, from your payroll company. Excuse me, from your from your POS company, or from a third-party delivery. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
That's a great piece of advice, brother.
No, great episode. Very important. Check us out, restaurantopia.com. We'll see you next time. .com.